Hi, this is Ken with Village Green, giving you your latest landscape quick tip. So this winter has been quite the roller coaster. In December, we had a high of 79 degrees, and then we had lows at 11 degrees. And then January, we had a high of 82 degrees, and then lows of 25 degrees. We just had those not too long ago, and that's what brought in our ice storm. And plants don't really like that roller coaster. You can imagine taking your favorite plant and putting it in the oven and warming it up, and then sticking it in the freezer overnight and leaving it there for a day or so, and then putting it back in the oven for a couple of days, and then putting it back in the freezer for a couple of days. Eventually, your favorite plant is going to say, I'm kind of done with this. I'm not happy anymore. And that's what we're seeing in our landscapes. Some of these plants that we're looking at will bounce back. I know this worries a lot of people. Typically speaking, we'll know for sure somewhere around mid to late April and sometimes on into May. But at that point, you'll really see as we head on into late April, early May, we'll see the warm weather hit, and we'll see plants that we could have sworn were just dead bounce back and leaf out and be okay. The plants that I'm looking at here, this is actually at our landscape at the shop. These in the front here, these are giant liripe. They usually do okay in the cold, and they did this time too, but the tips got scorched and they looked messy. So we went ahead and cut these back. I've had a couple of people write in asking about these. These are dwarf Mexican petunias, and again, they don't look so good right now. These are tough plants. They'll start leafing out and greening up. They tend to leaf out a little bit later than some plants, but probably late March we'll start seeing them green up a little bit. I wouldn't worry about them very much because most of the time they come on back. In the back here, these are abelias, and in the freeze that we had a couple of years ago with the snow, these actually did pretty well, but by golly, they took a hit this year. These plants are abelias back here, and a couple of years ago they did fine. After the freeze, they lost a little bit, but this year the up down temperatures just really hammered them pretty hard. What I am noticing though is, yes, they did lose their leaves, at least for the time being. The tips on these are flexible, and I had actually recorded a video a couple of weeks ago before we hit the ice storm, in which I was videoing these exact same plants. They had dropped their leaves, and with all the warm weather we had, they were starting to leaf out and get buds on them. And I was commenting that this is great unless we have another cold spell. Well, we did, and the result was that we lost all of those buds. I think these will bounce back and be okay. For the most part, abelias are pretty tough plants. And that's kind of going to be the theme that we really won't know for a few weeks. In fact, on these abelias here, you can see they're starting to leaf back out again, and assuming that we don't drop back down into the teens or 20s, these should be okay, and they'll look ugly for a while, and then by probably the end of the summer, we won't know that they were ever bothered. In the back, we've got nandinas. Typically speaking, they weather the freezes okay, but these didn't. But they're again tough plants, so I think that they're going to be all right. And then we got hollies that obviously do well. Kind of the star this time of year is going to be this thrift. They're one of the first bloomers, and they've come right back out, and they're doing really well. So they'll be okay. And then the plant that did not do okay, and they're really struggling, or these actually in my prior video that didn't get sent out, these actually had started to bud out, but at this point, I don't know if you can hear how that just is snapping. That means that that stem is pretty well gone. It's just been frozen out. So I don't expect, this is a variegated pittosporum. I don't expect this one to come back. So we'll see. Some of these plants will come back, some of them won't. But this has been a kind of a hard freeze, and we'll know better, as I said, somewhere around April on into May. We'll have a really much better idea as to which plants just aren't coming back. Don't give up hope on them quite this soon, though, because a lot of these should start greening back up. If you like these videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and send them on to your friends and family. Ken with Village Green, growing plants, growing people, growing relationships, and growing trust.